4 cylinders, volume up to 2 liters and turbocharging combined with direct injection. This is what the basic design of a modern gasoline engine with very good dynamics and low fuel consumption looked like in the last decade. Turbocharging made it possible to compensate for the missing liters of working volume, and direct injection ensured efficiency. Volkswagen began to widely apply this solution already in the first half of the last decade. Its direct competitor, Ford, was postponing a widespread transition to turbocharging. He still relied on time-tested solutions, Sigma and Duratec. As for the 5-cylinder turbo engine with a capacity of 2.5 liters borrowed from Volvo, it did not fit into the above-mentioned concept in terms of the number of cylinders, volume and fuel injection, distributed. For 2010, Ford offered new 1.6 and 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engines, commercially named EcoBoost. Since 2012, this series has been replenished with a small 3-cylinder unit with a capacity of 1 liter. 1.6 EcoBoost. The 1.6 EB was technically based on the popular naturally aspirated 1.6 Sigma series, developed jointly with Yamaha in the 90s. The EcoBoost block received an open-deck type design, which implies freestanding cylinders and an open jacket of cooling channels directly adjacent to the block head. This solution, as conceived by Ford, should help reduce engine weight and improve temperature balance. In addition, the cast iron cartridges were preserved. But they were not pressed into the aluminum block, but were held in the block during casting. The rest of the engine is different from its Sigma line counterparts. Direct injection required a new cylinder head. The manufacturer has retained valve control without a gap between the segments. In practice, valve clearance is not determined on these engines, and Ford does not include checking clearance as part of the service plan. In this matter, he relies on the hearing of an experienced mechanic. If the gap needed to be eliminated, a total of 36 shims of varying heights would have to be replaced. This also means removing the air ducts and the associated camshaft, which is not so easy. I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro. The relationship with the Sigma family is also indicated by a belt-type timing drive. Its renewal is prescribed once every 150,000 kilometers. The procedure requires some experience and special devices for fixing the shafts. Both camshafts have valve timing clutches similar to those installed in the 1.6 TVCT. For supercharging, a Borg-Warner KP39 turbocharger with a low inertia rotor is used, providing a quick response to the addition of gas. The turbocharger bearing assembly is included in the engine cooling circuit, but without additional cooling after the unit is turned off. The 1.6 EcoBoost has now been replaced by a smaller displacement derivative, the 1.5 EcoBoost. In terms of reliability and number of defects, the 1.6 EcoBoost loses the battle with its older brother 2.0 EcoBoost from the very beginning. The biggest problem was overheating due to loss of coolant. For the first engines, a message on the dashboard about a lack of antifreeze every 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers was common. There were several reasons for the loss of coolant: the water pump, defective seals on the heater block, fluid was found in the front passenger's feet, as well as deformation or cracking of the cylinder head. The latter reason was also indicated by oil leaks. While the cooling system vulnerabilities have been resolved, fuel injector malfunctions are still being observed. The atomization is disrupted, or the injectors begin to pour fuel, which leads to melting or even destruction of the piston. Ford does not offer pistons as a separate part, so the defect is corrected by replacing the short block. Problems with injectors are caused by low-quality gasoline. Ford experts recommend refueling only with high-octane fuel. 2.0 EcoBoost. Unlike the 1.6 EcoBoost, the 2-liter turbo engine not only handles better, but is also more durable and reliable. The basis for the 2.0 EB was the Duratec HE or Mi5 series. The progenitor was introduced in 2000 and developed jointly with Mazda. The Japanese designated their family with the index L. Mi5 and L5 share the same aluminum block, basic design and characteristics, but the attachments are different. Over the years, the differences between the engines have become increasingly greater. 2.0 EcoBoost, like its founder, has a timing chain drive. Valve clearance adjustment, like the smaller 1.6 EB, is not included in the maintenance plan. Until 2015, a version of the engine corresponding to Euro 5 was offered, and after that, Euro 6, most of the parts of which were redesigned. The new cylinder head received an integrated exhaust manifold, the compression ratio was increased from 9.3 to 10:1, and different pistons were installed. The turbocharging has also undergone changes. The single-chamber Borg-Warner K03 turbocharger was replaced with a two-chamber one, i.e. twin-scroll. Euro 6 is about 4.5 kilograms lighter. From Euro 6 came the larger 2.3 EcoBoost for the sporty Focus RS and Mustang. The increase in volume was achieved by increasing the piston stroke from 83.1 to 94 mm with the same cylinder diameter of 87.5 mm. The large difference between bore and stroke required the installation of a cartridge with a balance shaft, which was placed at the bottom of the engine. Unlike the smaller 1.6, the 2-liter turbo engine is reliable and durable. Especially in comparison with the units of the VW Concern EA888 series, 1.8 and 2.0 TSI. But still some problems occur. Perhaps the most serious is cracking of the exhaust manifold in first-generation engines, Euro 5. It is made of steel and comes complete with a turbocharger, making the manifold very expensive to replace. Sometimes the pressurization system fails, the electric drive of the pressure relief valve, which is located in the discharge line, stops working. The bypass valve on the exhaust gas side is electropneumatically controlled. The 2.0 EcoBoost does not use swirl flaps like its Duratec HE predecessor, where they were often a source of problems. Oddly enough, the timing chain has quite a decent service life. 1.0 EcoBoost. Unlike larger units based on older naturally aspirated engines, the 3-cylinder 1.0 EcoBoost was developed relatively recently. He is a member of the Fox line. The block is made of cast iron. Ford chose such an unusual solution for modern engines in order to reduce energy costs for warming up the engine. The ultimate goal is to reduce the amount of harmful emissions. In addition, an exhaust manifold built into the cylinder head was used for this purpose. Unlike 3-cylinder engines of other brands, the small EcoBoost does without a balance shaft. This is replaced by a specially designed unbalanced flywheel combined with a torsion damper on the opposite side of the crankshaft. As a result, the engine runs smoothly even at high speeds. Another interesting feature is that both camshafts are driven by a timing belt operating in oil mist. That's why Ford specifies only a special oil with an unusual green color for this engine, Formula E SAE 5W20. The declared service life of the timing belt is 200,000 kilometers or 10 years. For its performance, the little EcoBoost was awarded the Engine of the Year title. But this does not mean that it does not cause problems in everyday use. One of the most famous is coolant leaks. The disease affects units manufactured before 2014. In addition to a leaking coolant pump, fatal damage could be caused by burst hoses delivering heated antifreeze from the turbocharger back to the expansion tank. The material of the pipes could not withstand high temperatures. In 2015, a recall campaign was carried out to replace the hoses. And the modified pipes have been installed since May 2014. Another problem is with the turbocharger. Errors occur in the supercharger rotation speed control system. This is due to the vacuum element, the membrane of which may rupture. the turbine becomes inoperative. Everything would be fine if it were possible to get away with just replacing the pneumatic part. But this is impossible, because after 100,000 kilometers, problems sometimes arise with the high-pressure fuel pump. Due to a drop in fuel pressure, engine power decreases. But the problem is not in the pump itself, but in the cam pushed by the camshaft. Ford supplies it as a replacement part. All EcoBoosts run the risk of fouling the intake duct and intake valves. This problem probably affects all engines with direct fuel injection. These engines do not have the ability to self-clean the intake tract.